Syndicated presents Shep and Sean, featuring Matt Shepard and Sean Baligian.
Oh, the dulcet tones of Anti-Ghost bringing us in. Shep, are you familiar with their work? Are you're
Slightly?
With their work?
Yep. I enjoy it. It's one of my favorite bands. Yep. They got another album coming out soon, so excited about that.
Did you like that? That was I love that softball. If you don't crush that, dude, like come on.
It was it was like Tom Hanks in Bachelor Party. Cleveland wins the pennant.
What was isn't there, I don't know how much truth to it, but remember the Denny McClain allegedly grooved one to Mickey Mantle and all that stuff because he was his hero and all that. That was like,
yeah.
Shep, you're my hero, so I'm going to groove one to you, okay? Is that good?
First of all, shoot higher, Sean. It's like
yes.
My kids all the time. Shoot higher. And wasn't there also a belief that Cal Ripken was grooved one in his final All-Star game too?
Yes.
Was that Chan-Ho Park? Who was that who grooved it supposedly?
Boy, I don't remember.
Yeah,
I don't remember. Yeah. So much going on though. I mean, as Eric already said, the Lions game was unbelievable. Like it or not, the Tigers are in a legitimate wild card race. They are. Now, do I think they're going to be one of the wild card teams? I don't. I think the schedule works against them a bit. But it's legitimate here in September. Another loaded college football weekend. Shep, I think the best place to start is with the Lions last night. It wasn't an A effort. It didn't have to be. When the game was on the line, they got back to basics. And I mean, you want to talk about manning up and just saying, we're going to impose our will on you. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. That's what that drive in overtime was to me.
Yeah, I saw your tweet about that. I've never been a big impose your will type of guy. But what I would say is they, like you just said, they did what you expect them to do because of their identity, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is who they are. I love the fact that they lined up and basically looked at the Rams defense and said, by the way, we're going to run the football. And there's nothing you can do to stop it.
That's exactly it.
Our big boys are better than your big boys, and our running back runs with a lot of heart. I'll say this, Sean, a couple things. First, I was really impressed with the Rams defense.
Yeah, big time.
Super impressed with the Rams knowing that they were missing 4 starting offensive linemen, and for them to move the ball the way they did. Like you said, Detroit was not at their peak. But really encouraged with Jamison Williams, really encouraged with Terrion Arnold, really encouraged with Marcus Davenport. And just if you could, I'd bundle them up and give one big hug to the offensive line. It's a good win, man. Rams are going to be a good team this season if they stay healthy. That's a really good win, Sean.
Absolutely. And you know what, Shep? How many times have we seen it? And I don't care what anybody says. That wasn't an A effort last night. I know what that team's capable of. I think we all know what that team's capable of. How many times did we see it in the past where the Lions lost a game like that? And
exactly.
this new Lion team finds a way to win games. And you cannot put a price tag on that, man.
That's the game that makes you believe. Okay. I would have been disappointed had they lost. It's one game. I'm not going to get too high. I'm not going to get too low. I think what I loved most about it is just how they closed it out.
Yep.
I love how they pushed and they did what they do best. And I think it's running the football and play action. Play action wasn't there as much as I would have hoped. I did think of you last night during the overtime in this sense. Everybody always believed, they used to squawk about it. I forget how you feel about it. I was never a fan of it. Both teams have to possess the ball. It's not fair unless one team possesses the ball. I always used to say, defense is part of the game too. So just bow up and play defense. Then they changed the rule. Each team gets to possess the ball unless the first team who wins the toss goes down and scores a touchdown. which is benefiting the Lions last night. So I'm thinking out loud saying, where are all the people who want both teams to possess the ball? Wham, right? I mean, and look, it benefited the Lions. Good for them. I'm happy for them. I'm glad they won. I just wondered about that a little bit. It's not something we have to get into. I was just really impressed with the Lions. I will say from over the weekend, though, Sean, super, super impressed with Michigan State, too. I know there were some turnovers, but what I loved most, you got an 18-year-old kid who's going to turn 19 on Thursday. After the lackluster, some would call it unimpressive win over Florida Atlantic, what does he do? Steps to the microphone. He says, I've got to be better. This is on me. To me, that's really good leadership. Like Rex Ryan on Sunday said, Dak Prescott's the best leader in the NFL. Red flag there. But when Child says, I've got to be better, and I will be, and you see the improvement, I'm not saying they're going to improve week to week, Sean, but I thought Michigan State, that's a good win at College Park.
100%.
And I think it surprised a lot of people. And the way they played, I loved the way they played with tough intensity the entire game. Good for them.
It is a 100% turnaround, and I am not over exaggerating that. It is a 100% turnaround from what you saw in the last 2 months last year. And we throw the C word around so often. Culture, right?
Yes.
Jonathan Smith right now, what he's done to that culture. I watched that team fold up so many times down the stretch last year. It was 2 months worth. Yeah. And I'm serious. I say this all the time. I was joking with Blake about this the other night. Harlan Barnett is one of the nicest human beings you will ever meet. And I felt so sorry for that guy because it started to go downhill and it didn't stop. As I was watching that game Saturday, that's what buoyed me the most, Shep, like honestly. And as you said, this is a kid that's 18 years old. All right. And I'm not going to go, look, does he look raw? Absolutely. Oh my God, does he look raw? Absolutely. So you know what? I'm not going to apologize for it. And all of a sudden, you know what? I am thinking about it. It's like, look, some people thought I was crazy when I said I think they're going to go 6-6 and go to a bowl game, Shep. And it wasn't so much about the talent that they had. Their schedule sucks. And I would tell anybody that. I'd say, go look at their schedule. You know, it should be. I think the good thing about it now, if you're a Spartan fan, I think some people are going, all right, let's see. You know, if you've seen the improvement like this, well, there's more to come. And so I think there's some excitement to come towards that.
Yeah, you're not going to glean anything from the Prairie View A&M. Okay, so but it'll be interesting going to Chestnut Hill. It makes it a little bit more important. Sure. The other thing is, when we first saw the schedule, though, you and I both talked about this. There's the 4-game stretch, right, where you get Ohio State, Oregon, Michigan, and Iowa. And you look at what Michigan State did yesterday or Saturday, and I said before the season began, I said, week 2 will tell me whether they win 6 games or 7. I think they can win 7 now. And some people are like, are you serious? I said, absolutely. Suddenly you look at this, and I'm not saying they're going to beat Oregon, okay? Was Oregon impressive in the first 2 weeks? They just needed a last-second field goal. I was watching on Saturday against Boise State. All right.
I was watching that game.
you and I both talked about the Idaho game where they were less than impressive. Again, I'm not saying State should be favored or should beat Oregon. Sure. I'm just saying suddenly that's why the preseason rankings don't mean squat to me. Florida State, Oregon, Michigan. Okay. So take it a step further. Michigan looks very vulnerable. I'm not saying Michigan State's going to beat them. I'm just saying Michigan doesn't look like the same team that a lot of people thought they may be going in. Maybe it's just 1 week. And then lastly, Iowa just lost to Iowa State. Suddenly their offense comes back down to earth. 20 points in the game. Again, I'm not predicting State to run the table, necessarily win those games. I'm just saying this is why it's really hard for us to play the schedule game. When you try to tick off all these wins and these losses, you do not know what those teams look like. So if people like to do the knee-jerk reaction and get really high when they win and really low when they lose, I'm going to continuously say this. I want to wait and see there are certain games I want to see what they look like for me to truly judge how good or how bad a team is going to be.
That was a test on Saturday in
It
College
was.
Park. That
Yep.
was a test. I didn't glean too much from week one. I said as much. That was a test. I don't care what anybody says. You go on the road in the Big Ten and you win a football game. That's thumbs up, baby. I mean, seriously, that's just the way it is. Never, ever apologize for a win. I want to get some more thoughts from you on Michigan in a second. Gordy brings up a good point. Where was Montgomery the first 3 quarters? Guy runs with an attitude, very underrated in my opinion. And you know what, Gordy? I think this comes back to something, Shep, you and I talked about last week. The thing that I love about the way the Lions are built right now is you legitimately, 1 week it might be Amon-Ra St. Brown. It might be Jamison Williams. It might be Laporta. It might be Gibbs. It might be Montgomery. And the reason that I bring this up is because, J-Mo blew up. And Shep, I'm a big fan, and I know I told you this last week. I don't care if J-Mo doesn't put up 1,500 yards and score 12 touchdowns. I know a lot of people out there are going to go, well, that's what he should do. I want him to be a legitimate threat. And when you are a legitimate threat on a team that is chock full of legitimate threats, some days you're going to have a night like he did last night. Some days it might be Laporta's turn. It might be Amon-Ra St. Brown, whatever the case may be. That's what I wanted to see last night. I wanted to see that guy start this season the way he finished last season. And I think, again, that's such a strength. That's one of the things that Brad Holmes has done with this football team is, I keep using it's Burger King. It's like, have it your way. Would you like some of those fiery chicken fingers right now or chicken strips or whatever the hell they were? Hey, how about that fiery Whopper? Oh, we got the double Whopper for you. If you want it with cheese. That's the good thing about what's going on with this Lions offense right now where, okay, well, this isn't really going the way. Let's try this. And there are options that can go in there and kill you week by week or even in game.
I was talking with a friend of ours, Lomas Brown, last week, and I know you're doing an event with him tomorrow.
Yes,
And
cool crap.
I was talking with Lomas about this, and he said, Matt, he brought up a great point. He said, I don't think the Lions have to find a third or a fourth receiver. He said, I think they've got to find or legitimize their number 2. Now, I'm not saying one game does that for Jamison Williams, but putting that game on tape and putting other teams on notice that if you want to do what they just did to Amon-Ra St. Brown, and credit the Rams defense, did a hell of a job, you might get burned with another guy. It is a pick your poison type situation. Let's face it, you and I both know this. The best teams in football, oftentimes, it's not always just like the quarterback, but oftentimes they have multiple threats. Jamison Williams becomes that threat. Already they have St. Brown and Laporta and Gibbs and Montgomery. I think the sky's the limit. Now, I love that text, or I love what that contribution to our podcast is, because I think Montgomery runs angry. I saw him a little bit in the first quarter. I was a little surprised that you didn't see more of him, but I'm sure Ben Johnson's got the packages that he's got included for each of those guys. I'm going to trust him, but it's a nice option to have, isn't it, buddy?
Yeah, no doubt about that. I know Michael, one of our resident Buckeye fans, Buckeyes will travel up to East Lansing in 3 weeks. First Big Ten team the Buckeyes play. I still quiver a little bit. My eye quivers a little bit thinking about Ohio State because, boy, they put a number on on Michigan State in recent years. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, they're really good, man.
I tried to tell these people around here. They didn't want to listen to me, Shep. They didn't want to listen to me.
Listen, I understand why people are upset there in Columbus with Ryan Day. I totally get it. You're having a hard time convincing me he's not a really good coach. I think he's a really good coach. He recruits.
Go ahead, Todd. Make fun of me. Put up your little picture. Yeah, Todd's going to make fun of me because I have a crush on Ryan Day or something. So Todd there we go. Yeah, rip on Sean time. Wow, we're going to have a threesome, me, Shep, and Day. Whoa.
I don't know what people look. You expect to beat Michigan. I get it. His team year in and year out, legitimate top 10 team. I get there are different standards, but the dude gets it done. Let's see if he can continue to breeze through the Big Ten like he has in the past and see what they do against Michigan. But they scare me too because they've got just a crap load of talent.
Love what Austin said here. Sewell is the best right tackle in the game. Not, oh, we get it, the O-line is good. No, he is the best right tackle in the game. I do think the Lions have the best line as a whole, but your point stands. Yep. Other than maybe Miggy, it's been a long time since we had the undisputed best player at their position in a league around here. That's a great point.
It's an excellent point.
I'm going to rack my brain, and I think I'm done racking. I can't think of another player. Honestly, I can't.
Yeah, so we're talking about strictly pros, right? So you've had national players of the year, Mateen Cleaves, Trey Burke, right? You've had some arguably the best point guard in Isaiah Thomas, but I think that's an excellent point. Since Miguel Cabrera, Calvin Johnson, was he the best receiver in football?
I think he was for a few years. I do. One man's opinion. I do.
Yeah, I'm with you. I would go maybe even a step further. I think Penei Sewell's the best tackle, not just right tackle. I think he's the best tackle in all of football.
Yeah, you could make that argument. Yeah, you could definitely make that argument.
Fun conversation to have, isn't it? It's a really fun conversation.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Absolutely. Stafford, McVay, and the pre-snap motion helped them determine if we were playing zone or man-to-man, and Stafford chops up the zone. The defense looked better overall, though. Offense looked rusty, but fine.
Yeah,
let's be honest. I thought that they were going to inflict a hell of a lot more damage when you're talking about the fact that you have a couple of youngsters out there in important places against a damn good receiving core and a damn good quarterback. Because I know I'm supposed to like rip on Matthew Stafford. Now I don't care if he wins or loses. Obviously, I want him to lose against us, but that doesn't change the fact he's a pretty damn good quarterback.
I think he's amazing. I really do. I think he's as good as any quarterback outside of Patrick Mahomes as there is in football right now. It's a good observation. I heard Chris Collinsworth say the same thing. I thought it was a great point by the analyst, and I think it's going to take the offense a little bit of time. Like Sean and I were talking, I love that. Look, no one's going to be perfect, and I get that Cooper Kupp had 14 catches, tied a career high. I thought Terrion Arnold was really good overall. And even though he's not a young guy, Carlton Davis, I'm highly encouraged, Sean. I thought overall, it's hard to argue with what they did against a good football team. That team is, I think they're a playoff team if they stay healthy.
No question.
Think about it, Sean. You got San Francisco, you got the Rams. Cowboys looked really good. Philadelphia looked pretty damn good too. Chicago did not look good, especially with Caleb Williams. And Green Bay has lost Jordan Love for about a month. There's some open opportunities to get on a roll and distance yourself a little bit from some of these teams, right?
As Gordy said, number 5 for the Wings was pretty good. It's been 12 years, though. I mean, as crazy as that sounds, Nick left 12 years ago. I mean, Nick was, until maybe the last year, you could make the argument that he was the best defender in the league every single year. Every single year. The last year, and Shep, I'm sure you know this, and perhaps you had the same conversations I did. It was very frustrating for him because, do you remember, he had that ankle injury and he was so used to bouncing back, and he said it wasn't bouncing back. And he said that's when it crept in his head. Maybe it's time. Maybe it's time. But Gordy, you're absolutely, but I mean, again, that's a dozen years ago now. And let's face it, prime Cabrera was a decade ago too. If we're being honest, prime Cabrera was a decade ago too.
And Calvin's right around the same time.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I think that's an excellent point. I'm with him. I wish I'd have thought of it. Yeah. It's fun to be able to say you have the best in the business of what they do. Now the beauty of what the Lions are doing right now is that they've got top 10 guys in a lot of different positions.
Yeah.
St. Brown, Laporta, arguably Gibbs, maybe not. Arguably Goff, I think so. Ragnow, I think Ragnow's a top 5 center at least. Sewell, as you mentioned, and Hutchinson. That's a lot of guys. I mean, when's the last time you and I looked at a Lions team and said we had the very best? Outside of Barry Sanders, you could say the trio of wide receivers with Perriman, Morton, and Moore. Spielman was in the conversation among middle linebackers. I mean, Benny Blaze, as much as I liked him, only made one Pro Bowl. Not this many collective players on one
Sure.
Lions team in the top 10 of their position as what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, when you think about it, and Gordy said Miggy left a while ago. He did. Like I said, prime Miggy was a decade ago, if we're being honest.
Yep.
It's probably been I guess you could say JV. You could always throw JV out there.
Well, that's a good point.
You could always throw JV out there until he was traded. But
I like
still,
that
I mean,
one.
that's a big period. That's a long period of time, man. That's a long period of time. Way off the board. Tigers 3.5 out of the wild card with 18 to play. Hopefully, getting the younger players ready for next year. Michael, I'm with you. I don't think they're going to make it up. I don't think they're going to be a wild card team. I hope they are. That'd be fun. That'd be cute. Especially Shep, as we talked about a few weeks ago. This isn't a bunch of guys that we know aren't going to be here in a year or two. Now they're being led by a nucleus and everything. I think it's too many games back and a difficult, quite frankly, a difficult schedule as well. When you have
they've got Baltimore
Orioles twice and at Royals at Kansas City.
At Kansas City, they also have Chicago. Colorado's terrible, so they're playing them in the 3-game series. The only thing I'd say is don't look at it like 3.5. Look at it like 4.5. Because Minnesota won the season series from Detroit.
Good call.
So they have to finish in order to finish ahead of the Twins. It's really 4.5. At least that's how I look at it. And I know it's a good point. You want to get the young guys ready for next year that you're hoping. Maybe I'm too harsh on them. I am tired of taking silver linings out of 500 baseball teams. I'm tired of.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Oh, this is great. We get the young guys play. Win the damn division. Okay. Why can Cleveland, who was 10 games under 500, suddenly win the division? Why can Kansas City, who finished last in the division, challenge for the wild card and have the number 3 wild card right now? And Detroit's waiting and waiting and waiting. It's like, oh, here's an idea. Let's get rid of Gio Urshela, who we shouldn't have signed in the first place, and play Jay Sean. Oh, here's an idea. Let's do this and let's do that. I mean, holy crap, man. I mean, let's go. Let's get something done, please. Can we have a little bit higher of a standard? It's funny when the Red Wings were on a roll, and you and I were covering them over a 25-year span in which they were making the playoffs. By the time they were into the playoffs, people were like, "Oh, I'm so tired of them just making the playoffs." Blah 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 blah. Right? That's because you raised your freaking standard for the Red Wings. Okay.
Yep.
What's the standard for the Tigers? Oh, we hadn't had a winning team in over 8 years. So here's what we're gonna do. We're just going to be happy that we're playing meaningful games in September. We're going to be happy that we're 2 games above 500 and challenging for a wild card spot. Okay. I guess we have different standards. That's all.
A lot of different things coming up. Let me tell you first of all about our friends from Northville, downtown Northville, historic downtown Northville, I might add. Our friends with the Wealth Advantage Group. If you're ready to take charge of your financial future, look no further than the Wealth Advantage Group, located in historic downtown Northville and owned by the Handsome Brothers right there. With over 20 years of industry experience, they understand that your financial goals are as unique as you are. That's why they offer personalized expert guidance to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning. Now, whether you're saving for retirement, getting ready to sell your company, you're already in retirement, they can help guide you through every step of your financial journey. They work with clients throughout all stages of life and have clients in over 20 states. The investment world, it is a complex one. But if you're ready to start taking your finances more seriously, it might be time to work with an expert. Reach out to the Wealth Advantage Group at 248-773-8574 or check out their website at www.thewealthadv.com. Eric asked us, does Michigan bounce back on Saturday? No, the Red Wolves are coming into Ann Arbor, and they're going to roll you, Eric.
I mean, it doesn't even matter.
It's going to be worse than NIU over Notre Dame. You don't got a prayer. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah,
I think they'll be fine against Arkansas State. I do.
Yeah, I do too. It doesn't really matter. Let me address a few things. So it says, amen, Shep, be competitive for sure. This is the Shep that couldn't talk on the broadcast. I don't know how much you watched the broadcast, Michael, but I was critical of them quite a bit if they didn't make a play. As a matter of fact, I had some debates with players about that who felt like that was the case. 2 years ago, at the end of the season, I said, you know what? I'm tired. We in this town because we've got good people. What do we do?
I called you. Remember, I
Yeah.
called you.
Yeah, and we make it out like average players are really good and that good players are great. And we've got to set the bar higher. We've got to set our higher expectations. It's not like I didn't say it. Now, just because I don't say it every single night during a 78 win season, just because I don't get disgusted and spit on the TV monitor when they're losing, doesn't mean that you couldn't be critical. It's how you say it, man, as much as anything else. And there was plenty of times where I said, look, you got to make that play. You've got to do a better job of getting the runners over. There were plenty of times when I did that. I don't know how much that mattered to management. I was never told what to say. I've always looked at it, and Sean, you and I have called games for a long time. There's a couple of ways we can look at it. You can continue to dog a team that isn't very good, or you can talk about how good the other team is. I don't know how much it really serves you, the organization, or your fan base if all you want to do is dog a team that you're calling the game for. That's what sports talk radio is for. That's what writings and podcasts are for. It's not what you do as a play-by-play announcer. You have to be honest. You have to be fair, but you have to be professional too about it. And I hope that's what people took from it.
I'm going to get your back because honestly, that's why I started clapping. And Shep, I hope you remember this. I literally called you after you said that in the last broadcast. And I said, thank you, because there are a lot of people out there like me that feel like, I don't know, like we're not being heard or something. Like, honestly, it's, and we know the names of Badu amongst them, chief amongst them, that our town, for whatever reason, wants to take this and make it look like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to tell you that it's really that. And there's so much of that in society today. You didn't see what you saw. You didn't hear what you saw.
Don't believe your eyes. Yeah, don't believe your eyes.
It's pardon my language, it's batshit crazy. Now, I will say this though, Shep. The difference for me, and I'm going to speak for me, is I think a couple years ago when they made a cute little run, we had the Jonathan Scopes of the world, we had the Nomar Mazzaras of the world, guys that you knew were going to be here a year or two, and they were either going to flame out or they're going to take off someplace different. So that's why it's a little different for me that finally, after all these magical names that we've heard for so long, okay, we actually have a few of them in the lineup and we're actually seeing them produce as opposed to having Emily Walden tell us how great they're surely all going to be. And I think there's a huge difference between seeing with your own eyes.
Yeah, and then expecting some of the people that you see in high A and say, well, this guy's going to be a really good player.
Right.
How do you know?
Right.
You know, I mean, Mickey Moniak was a number 1 overall pick. Okay. You know, I'm sure he tore it up at one point during the minor leagues. You just don't know. What's happening in our business and in our society, but especially our business, is people are afraid to say, I don't know.
Yep.
Or people are afraid to say, I'm going to wait and see. It's got to be a rush to judgment. It's got to be, hey, I'm the first person. Look, Sean, you and I were both there when Bobby Ross got fired. We were there when Wayne Fontes got fired. Do you remember who broke the story?
No.
I'll wait and listen. And you've got one of the best memories of anybody I know. I have no idea.
No.
It doesn't matter. You know, get it right, number 1. But number 2, it's okay to take a little bit of a back seat for just a moment and say, I'm going to see how this plays out a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. But when you've had 8 years of what many people are asking you to be patient, I think the fan base deserves more, damn it. I think the fan base deserves more than 40 years of waiting. I think it deserves more of having 4 championships. I'm sorry. When you're an original charter member, when you've got the English D and you've had some of the greatest players to ever play the sport, and you've had some of the best people associated with the sport, you should have more than 4 freaking rings. And sure as hell, one sooner than 1984. If that's unfair, if that's too much to ask for, tough crap.
We were talking about this a few days ago, Shep. While it was going on, 2006 will always be an awesome memory because going to games with my son, all that stuff. 11, 12, 13, 14. Fun while it lasted, 14 not so much, because I think, in my opinion, anybody with half a brain in their head knew that Mensa Osmus wasn't taking the team anywhere. And we saw it, kind of play itself out that first year. But here's Shep, honestly, I don't look back like with the fondness that I had while it was going on, because I look at it now, honest to God, as missed opportunity, especially 2013. Like, it hurts. It really does hurt. There were so many things in that freaking Red Sox series that everybody goes back to Poppy's home run. There were 57 things after that if you make this catch, if you field that ground ball, there were 57 other things in that series that would have meant the Tigers won that series and went to the World Series and surely would have won that year. So it's weird how that works out. While I was living in it, it was so much fun and going to all the playoff games and all. But I look back now and I say all the time, I feel sorry for your son. I feel sorry for my son. I feel sorry for the 42-year-old dude that has no recollection of 1984. And he's at 1984 shoved so far up his ass, it's coming out of his nostrils.
Yeah, well said. So well said. Look,
I feel so sorry for that guy. I really do.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I was at the Ted Lindsay golf outing today. That's the reason
That's what the 7 means. Yeah.
That's what the 7 means. And I was talking to Lance Ferris about the exact same thing, right? I mean, 40, you think about that, Sean. 40 years. Those guys heard about 1968 over and over and over again. Gibby used to tell me the Dodger teams got so tired of hearing about the 1988 team. And Gibby used to say to them, okay, win Clayton Kershaw, and you'll stop hearing about us, and other teams will hear about you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's it. And the other thing is, with this Tigers team, and remember, at the beginning of the year, I picked them to win the division. So I'm wrong, period. I think they've got a really, really good manager. I think AJ Hinch is a borderline brilliant manager, right? Give him some more talent, give him some everyday players, and you watch what this team can do. I truly believe that.
Well, listen, let me tell you about our friends at Legacy Partners. Sadly, I couldn't get out there today, Shep. I've done some of their bartending things in the past, but I know our friends at Legacy Partners were out there. And did you know that thousands of Metro Detroiters have already called Legacy Partners to get help with their home and auto insurance? Our friends at Legacy are one of Southeast Michigan's top independent insurance agents. They provide a full-service, one-stop solution for all of your insurance needs, personal and business, large and small. Legacy has helped our listeners by fixing mistakes other agents have made, asking the right questions to get the right coverage put in place to properly protect you. And help save you some money at the same time. Chances are, if you haven't checked your policies in the last year, you're probably paying too much and you could be underinsured. What are you waiting for? Give Legacy Partners a chance to help with your home, your cars, life insurance, Medicare enrollment, business insurance needs. Call them today, 586-209-4106, or visit legacypartnersins.com to get started with your new quotes. Couple comments. Skydog said, wonder how many people know the Tigers on average had been waiting longer than the Lions for a championship. The Lions kind of came in bunches, and then obviously we know 1957. I mean, what Shep, one of the things that I laugh at is not that long ago in our lives, everybody talked about 1955. And that was the last time that the Red Wings won a Stanley Cup.
That's right.
And surely it was going to end in 1995. And we know that series was over in the blink of an eye. Jersey smoked them. It was 42 years.
Right.
42. The Tigers are at 40 high.
It's going to be 41.
It's definitely going to be 41.
It's definitely going to be 41. Now, the only thing I would disagree on 2013, you said, they win that series, they go on and they win the World Series. I would have thought they would have won in 2006 because it wasn't a good Cardinals team.
No, it wasn't.
San Francisco is clearly the better team, obviously in the sweep. But 2006, I would have said the same thing, and it didn't happen. So I don't know about that. But losing to the Red Sox, losing to the Orioles, those things still sting. And I think they sting with me maybe for a different reason. Because I truly believe, and even though I thought Dave Dombrowski was a brilliant general manager, I truly believe that if you had the reversal of managers, if you had Ron Gardenhire before Brad Ausmus, a Ron Gardenhire type of manager with that veteran team, I think it's better prepared for the postseason than if you have a rookie manager handling those situations. Brad Ausmus should have been after to take the young team when they've decided to, I don't know, rebuild, if you will.
100%.
And Gardenhire or somebody of that ilk should have been inserted to take them home and win the rest of the way.
Shep, I always use the analogy because as fate would have it, it was around the time that my son was just getting his driver's license. And I said, if you're a parent of a kid who's just getting his driver's license, do you want to hand him the car keys to a brand new $130 million Lamborghini?
Right.
Or do you want to give him the car keys to, gosh, I don't even remember what car my kid had. And a Ford Focus. I think it was a Ford Focus. Like, what are you doing? It didn't make any sense to me. And I think we figured out pretty quickly how that was going to play itself out. And
by the way, that kid never took driver's ed because Brad Ausmus had never been a manager before.
Well, this is what you don't understand about Mensa. They can use their mind powers. They're so intelligent. It's like driving is easy. And he automatically starts driving. He uses his superior.
Well, he is the smartest guy in the room. It's funny you say that because
brilliant.
I when I was talking to Lance today, I said to him, here's what I get from my oldest son all the time. And you kind of touched on it. He said, Dad, I'm waiting for my Alan Trammell, Lou Whitaker, and Lance Parrish.
Sure.
Because that's what I talk about all the time. In 84, strength up the middle. You had Parrish behind the dish. You had Whitaker. You had Trammell. You had Chet Lemon in center. The three of those guys were considered, if not the best, among the best at their positions. It's the greatest double play combo in the history of the sport. And you could make the argument that Lance Parrish is a Hall of Fame catcher. You could make the argument. I'm not saying he is, but I do believe, if the Tigers actually worked at this, if they actually went out there and said, hey, listen, Parrish at the time, Lolich at the time, Freehand at the time, those guys deserve recognition, more recognition for opportunities to be in the Hall of Fame. If they actually went to bat, you and I no longer am, but you're still a Heisman Trophy voter. How many times do you get things from schools to say, hey, just a reminder, Jaden Daniels is having this type of season, in case you're wondering. We know you're a Hall of Fame voter. Don't you think the Tigers would be beneficial? Their players would be benefits of that type of promotion marketing. You can snub your nose at it all you want. Other teams do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know why the Tigers never did it, but that's what my son has always wanted. Those types of guys.
And I can relate to that. I've probably said this to you before, and if I haven't, let me say it now. I hated the 1968 Tigers. I hated them.
Why?
Because I was too young to understand the importance after what happened in this city in 1967. Here's a team that I heard about ad nauseum growing up. I knew everything about a team that won a World Series 2 years before I was born. I didn't want to hear it. My old man would start like going on a story. I'll never forget in Game 5. And I'd finish the story for him. And he'd go, you just don't know when to shut your mouth, do you? It is impossible for you to shut your mouth. And I was like, Dad, I haven't heard this story 78 times. Please tell me about freehand blocking the plate. I haven't heard it. When you're a kid, Shep, I didn't want to hear that shit. Like, to stop it. I don't want to hear any of it. And at 4:07, Tim McCarver popped out to Bill. Really, Dad?
Why didn't Lou Brock slide? Why didn't he slide? I'll tell you why he didn't slide.
He was terrified of Bill Freehand. That man would strike the fear of God in anybody. But and you were too young to understand. I needed my 1968. And as I got older, I understand after what happened in this city in 67, what it meant to the city and how great that team was. I'm taking nothing away from them. Amazing. I had little kid brain. I knew everything about a gosh damn team that I wasn't alive to see. Exactly. And I think, sadly, for 40 years, there are a bunch of Tiger fans like that. And listen, I get it. I still relish those guys. I still like meeting Lance, off the beaten path last week at a golf outing was like so cool. And you turn into a kid again and everything.
Sure.
Yes, we should respect them. We should always revere them. But we also have to remember now there are multiple generations of people that don't give a flying bleep. They
100%.
don't care. And we got to
right.
understand that.
And they're tired of hearing us talk about it. Now,
Yeah.
Skydog says if Paris stays in Detroit, he's a Hall of Famer. Lance Paris went to Philadelphia. He was an all-star. Then he went to California, won a Silver Slugger, and was an all-star. I don't know if he stays in Detroit. I don't think that necessarily makes him a Hall of Famer. Here's the way I look at it. The Tigers should have paid him. He wasn't asking for that much more. They should have paid him. Okay. Now this organization's got to do a better job of that stuff. Period.
Gibby, Morris, and Lance. None of them should have left. Like none of them. It's a travesty. It really is.
Yeah.
Do you know who the last 30-game winner is? Don't you? Huh? When that guy took them out. Let me tell you something. When that guy, shut up.
I know.
Shut up. Like stop it.
Don't you? But you and I are going to be like that sometimes, okay? I mean,
going to be like that.
That's the way it is because you tell people about the guys you revere most.
Sure.
I mean, Bob Gibson. Look, that 1968 season. How great was Bob Gibson with a 1.12 ERA and 13 shutouts? Okay, now we can poo-poo it all we want, but there might have been a time during that season where you're like, or not during that season, but at some point where you're going, Jack, 28 complete games. That's Bob Gibson back in 1968. 28 complete games, 1.12 ERA. Take that. Who do you think's going to do that for you?
Right.
So you got a different voice, but it kind of has the same poignant message, right? That's what it is. I mean, that's you're gravitate. How many times in hockey, who do you talk about more than any other player?
Wayne, because it's just his numbers were all fake. They were all fake.
Okay. Do you think there's a lot of people, younger kids, who are like, they never saw Wayne Gretzky play and all they're doing is listening to you talk about Wayne Gretzky? If I were you, I'd be talking about him too. Or Larry Robinson, right? I'd be talking about him too, but they get probably tired of it too.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Shep. This gives me ample time. My favorite sports stat. If Wayne Gretzky never scored a goal, not one goal, he's still the leading scorer in the NHL. I'm sorry.
So
it's fake. It didn't
really
happen.
Quick. I know. It's crazy. Real quick story. And then I know we got to go. I'm in New York. Stop me if I've told you this. Don Zimmer, the one of the coaches for the Yankees is across.
All babies look like Don Zimmer. That is an undeniable fact. Find me a baby that doesn't look like Don Zimmer. Every baby looks like Don Zimmer.
Absolutely. And if you don't believe, just put a big thick pinch between the lip, cheek and gums. So I go over there. It's raining during a rain delay, and I said, Mr. Zimmer, just want to introduce myself. He's just nodding at me. I said, my dad and I always used to talk baseball, and I would say, God, I love George Brett. God, I love Pete Rose. God, I love Rod Carew. And my dad would say, you don't know what a good hitter is. Let me tell you what a good hitter is. Williams, DiMaggio, Mantle, Mays, Aaron, Musial. So I tell that story to Don Zimmer. Got a big old dad and goes, sounds like a smart man. That was the end of the conversation. So that's your dad talking to you. Let me tell you something. They're doing it. Your dad did it. You and I are going to do it. That's just the way it is.
And then you pulled out your kid's baby pictures and he said, what am I doing in your wallet? Because all babies look like Don Zimmer. It can't be denied.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
My kid's got a New York Yankees, Red Sox, all these different teams that you managed. What do you think of that, Zim?
Yeah. And then Austin, remember when Pedro threw Zimmer?
Oh, I know.
Hey, let's talk about Lindsey.
Hey, at least he went out to fight him.
He did. A crazy old man doing crazy old man things. When it's time to get yourself a new house, whether you're buying, selling, both, you need to contact the right agent. Who is the right agent? There she is.
There
Lindsay
she is.
Broadwell. Your house is probably the biggest investment you'll ever make, and that's why you need a pro. Lindsay grew up here on the mean streets of Northville. She's expanded her team all over Southeast Michigan. She's an expert in all facets of the business, and when it's time to move, Lindsay and her team will make sure you get the most out of your house and everything goes smoothly when finding your new home. Buyer, seller, first-time buyer, doesn't matter. Make sure you contact Lindsay at BroadwellHomes.com. She will help you with everything from start to close. Licensed realtor at Real Broker LLC. Start your search today at BroadwellHomes.com. Appreciate that greatly. Shep, any final thoughts? I have one more
Yeah, I
friend
got
to
one
tell
final
about.
thought for you.
All right.
I'm in my first ever fantasy football league.
Are you really?
I am. I'm up 21. I've got George Kittle tonight. The person I'm playing has Deebo Samuel. Feel pretty good about myself. Really have enjoyed it. Now I understand why you got so hooked. But it's a different way of watching football, man. Because you're constantly checking the app and going, come on, damn it. Like Kyron Williams last night, I go, I need another TD from Kyron Williams. He gets that touchdown. I was like, come on. And my son's looking at me like, what are you doing, Dad? I said, no, I want the Lions to win. But I want Kyron Williams to do pretty well too.
There was a Christmas dinner. I kid you not. One of the years at the Fan, I don't. I was either playing Stoney or Doug Todd for like the fantasy championship, and the day before he had
probably
somebody,
Doug Todd.
yeah, but the day before somebody like lit it up, and I was down a lot, and then the Christmas Day game was the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Raiders. And I had Tony Gonzalez and Trent Green. And like I'm sitting there at the table, and I told my son, I said, I need 2 touchdowns from each of them. And they went for like 3 touchdowns. And I was doing the Tony Gonzalez Trent Green dance all around the Christmas table. And what is the Tony Gonzalez Trent Green dance? I don't know. But I can tell you it put a lot of money in my pocket. I can tell you that. I don't miss it though, Shep. Like
there
I
was
said,
social media back then, man.
No, I don't miss it because my journey's the direct opposite of yours. When I didn't play a couple of years ago, I went, oh my gosh, I forgot what it's like to just sit and watch a football game.
I know.
So I don't honestly, I don't miss it. I don't miss it.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you, but it's a fun thing to play with my kids. So I've enjoyed it. It is a 12-team league. It is PPR, but anyway, I don't want to get all into the weeds, but it's been kind of
good for you.
At least for the first week, it's been pretty fun to get involved and
absolutely
and watching it in a different way.
Austin's right. No one wants to admit it, but we've all checked our fantasy scores at a funeral before. Absolutely. I'm not going to tell you what funerals, but I can tell you right off the top of my head. Exactly what funerals I did it at.
That's beautiful. All right. Thanks, Will Ferrell. On that note.
All right. Listen, All About Catering LLC is a full-service caterer. Graduations, weddings, bridal showers, corporate events. Maybe you want to have a fantasy football funeral. Anything you need catering for from 25 to 4,000 people. All About Catering can and will take care of you. Customer service and satisfaction is their #1 goal. Do not sweat your next big event. Just go to allaboutcateringllc.com today to see their menus and all their 5-star reviews. Give them a call, 586-731-1398. That's 586-731-1398 to get your event started. Shep, enjoy the game. Good luck to your fantasy team, buddy. I'll talk to you again Thursday. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you. Bye.
Shep and Sean, featuring Matt Shepard and Sean Baligian. Produced by Todd Losey and Blake Matcherzak. Executive produced by Sean Baligian and Todd Losey. Theme song, incidental music, and related sound effects are from Still Alive by Anti-Ghost. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated Podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.